Hi, thanks for joining me today. Are you wanting to build your step family so that the step siblings get on? And sometimes this can be very, very difficult to manage because there can be such difference between them and they really can jar and not get on. I post once a week, so subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell and I'll let you know every time I post. How do you get step siblings to get on with one another? It can be really difficult because stepchildren come from different families of origin, so they come together at a later time. There may be age differences between them. So you're actually doing quite a complex thing, even though people can say, oh, you're one family now, or lots of people like being in a step family because you look like a traditional family. But actually, putting together a step family with step siblings must be one of the most challenging things you could ever give yourself to do. So, first of all, don't think it's nothing. It does require work, and give yourself a pat on the back for every small gain. You deserve some praise for putting these step families together. Now, I said that actually there are things that you can do to build a step family, and I mean it. It's a bit like putting together teamwork at work. You can think that it happens naturally, almost organically, but actually, no. As a leader, you can put together a better team at work and get it to function better. At home, in a step family, you can put the step siblings together and put your family together by doing different things and give it the best chance possible of survival. More than survival, that they will get on. In step families, I would say that it's almost more difficult than in a work environment putting together a team, because sometimes you've got a difficult ex in the background who is working against your better interests. And if you've got that, you've got quite a bit bigger problem, and it may not even work. And if it doesn't work, give it a go, but don't blame yourself. You did your best. But the thing is, what can you do to bring a family, step siblings, together? So, the first thing is to treat it a bit like a job, like the leader of a department where you're putting a team together. It's very much the same skills. So what do leaders do when they put teams together? They have an objective for the team, and the objective for a family might be to get on well together and be able to go places and do things collaboratively together, spend time with each other, be able to go on holiday together, be able to have a few shared interests, those kinds of things. And once you've sort of worked out the kind of family that you want it to be in your head, then it's sometimes worth sharing that and have a meeting with your step siblings, all of them, and get them together and plan the agenda so that it includes things like what do you want for this family? How do you want to feel in this family? Now, sometimes you've got extra talkative stepchildren, and sometimes you've got stepchildren who'll come to a meeting and not say a thing. Okay, you might say it's not worth having a meeting because it'll show the ones up that don't want to talk, or something of that nature. But I would hesitate before saying don't hold a meeting, therefore. Even if somebody does no talking or somebody does too much talking, you can have a chat to them about it afterwards and see how they felt about the meeting and see if they could talk a little bit less next time, do a bit more listening, or if they're not talking, that they could talk a bit more. Don't give up. Having communication is really key to bringing people together. And you can have a bit of a laugh, and they can be good fun, and you can organise a treat afterwards where you can do something together or have a meal together. Manage it so that it's as best as possible. And the other thing about meetings is that no one will admit that they like going to a meeting. But actually, if you start taking meetings away, people start complaining because they don't know what's going on. So, same in a step family. Hold the meetings. That way, they will get used to knowing what's going on, and even though they may complain about it, they nevertheless do like the involvement and the consultation and the fact that what you're listening to what they have to say about the family and taking note. So, then also use the meetings to gently remind people of the standards in the house, what they can and can't do, the rules, and put in place fun rewards and little rewards for keeping to the rules. So you actually build into the meeting discussions about what should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed in the house, and what the rules should be, and what the reward should be, and what the penalty should be, and get their involvement in that. And then there's the individual one-to-one. It's about, in a team, although you're all together and you're all in this family together, you're not all the same. And you all bring to the family individual strengths and weaknesses. That means everybody brings strengths and brings weaknesses. And as a step parent in that situation, have a look for the strengths in everybody and have a look at their weaknesses. Try and ignore the weaknesses as much as possible and build on the strengths. Make sure everybody in the family individually knows what strengths they bring to this family and what they're appreciated for. Now, you might say to me, and many step parents do, I cannot see a single positive thing about my stepchild. There is nothing that I can think of that is positive. Now, if that's the way you feel, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way about your stepchild. But maybe you need to take a step back yourself and look after yourself. Remove yourself a bit, reward yourself a bit, do things for you a bit, so you can feel more generous about others. So when you come back into the house, you can perhaps see just something that you might give them as an advantage. Or force yourself to spend some individual time with them so you can get to know them and see if there are chinks in their horribleness that you can actually see are strengths. It's really important that stepchildren can be seen to bring strengths and good things to the family. And I know that's tough for you. But so leading on from that then, individual time spent with every member of the family is another important factor. See if you and your partner can't both spend individual time with both your own children and the stepchildren, so that you can build individual strengths together. So people bring to the family individual strengths, and you've got relationships that are built inside the family, and that'll increase the give and the love and the trust and the confidence within the family. If you have a situation where stepchildren don't particularly like their other stepchildren, the other step half of the stepchildren, don't forget that there's a phrase that says, tasks build teams. So if you give the two people that aren't getting on particularly well a task to do together, it is likely that that task will build that relationship between the two of them. You might say, impossible, I could never do that, that will never work. Fine. It may not, but history has proved that if you give people tasks to do, concentrate on the tasks, it builds teamwork, and it does. So think of a task you can give the two of them to do and get them to do it. The other thing as a leader in this step family environment to remember is to be careful about the labels you use. It's very easy to flippantly or in jest or half-heartedly think of people as so-and-so's very forgetful, so-and-so is hopeless at cooking, so-and-so is the messiest person in the house, so-and-so is useless at X, Y, and Z. Just be careful that you don't label people in the house negatively, inadvertently. It can be really damaging to teamwork, and it can really affect the way people think about others. And also stop other people also labelling others. You know those little t-shirts that you can get for children which says things like, "Here comes trouble"? I don't approve of those. Just be careful. Here comes trouble. Imagine wearing a t-shirt which says, "Here comes trouble." What does that say? What does that make the child? Be very careful what you label people in your family. So you may really think genuinely that your children are, in essence, good, great, balanced, and the stepchildren you've inherited have got all sorts of problems because of their past and because of the situation, and they're not doing as well. Well, that might be true, right? But what I'm saying to you here is be careful, because that mindset is not helpful. The most helpful mindset is to talk about them very much as equals. Talk about the fact that they both bring positives to the family. Seek out the positives from those stepchildren who you feel are suffering a bit. It's really, really important that you remain objective and fair as a step-parent in a step-family. And that's my final point, the business about fair. As children, we're very, very dependent on our parents being fair. Be mindful of that. Treat the children equally. and work it out with your partner. Things like everything, things like bedtimes, the amount of allowance they have. And, you know, that brings up a whole new issue, but it's like you might want to give your children more allowance than your husband or wife wants to give their children. It's okay to have difference, but it needs to be explained and understood, and it doesn't have to be the same. And stepchildren are not the same because they've both got parents who are different elsewhere, even if one of them's deceased. So they've had a different beginning. So there is no fairness there anyway. But as a step parent, it's important that you don't treat one set of children or one child or whatever unfairly. And you've got to watch for that and listen for it. Because if they're saying it's unfair, you've got to pay attention to it and at least justify it. What I'm describing to you is hard work. It is hard work. It's ongoing. It's never ending. Organising meetings are hard work. And by the way, I've written a booklet on meetings in a step family, and I would really recommend it to you because they really worked for me and I really advocate it. So it's called Let's Meet, Talking as a Step Family. So what I'm saying is that this is hard work. It's a bit like being a manager in a department running a team. And building teamwork can be done, it can be made better, it can be fantastic. But there are certain things you've got to get right. I hope that's been helpful.